we may sit down so that we can begin with the proceedings. Kombawa. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. I am delighted to welcome you to the United Nations Conversation Series. This is the 25th conversation in 2023, and I understand this is the highest number that we have ever held a conversation series. And of course, today we are going to close this conversation series for 2023 with the icing on the cake. Of course, today we are honored that we are going to be having a conversation with the Prime Minister, Gusmão, from Timor-Leste, and we'll start with him giving 10 minutes brief address, and then I will ask him questions, but I'm only going to ask him questions for about 15 minutes because I can see all of you are really, really, really looking forward to having a conversation with His Excellency, the Prime Minister. So I am therefore honored to introduce our distinguished guest today, His Excellency Rala Xanana Gusmão, Prime Minister of Timor-Leste. Let's give him a round of applause. Prime Minister, Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Sorry, I cannot because I am in the chair. The floor is there. Can I start?
Yes, Your Excellency.
United Nations University Rector, Dezembru, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Well, it is a pleasure to be here this evening to have a conversation about the historic, peaceful resolution of Timor-Leste's maritime boundary dispute with Australia. The United Nations University has the distinction of being the world's first international university. Its mission to help resolve global issues related to human development and welfare through collaborative research and education is more important now than ever. For someone who did not have the chance to attend university, it is always daunting, as you can understand, to address such a distinguished audience. I want to take this opportunity to do some scene setting before we get to questions. Friends, dear friends, Timor-Leste is a small island developing state located at the tip of the Indonesian archipelago. Our other close neighbor is Australia, which lies across the Timor Sea to our south. Our identity is anchored in the sea. The ocean has traced our past, and it is a cornerstone of our vision for the future. For more than 400 years, we were a colony of Portugal. We were Portugal's most remote and neglected colony. Its rule was interrupted between 1942 and 1945, when Australian Allied forces breached Portugal's neutrality and landed troops in Portuguese Timor. Shortly after, Japan followed. Portuguese rule recommenced in 1945. Finally, in April 1974, thanks to the anti-colonial war in Angola, Mozambique, and Guinea-Bissau, there was a revolution in Portugal, and the new government announced that it would grant independence to its colonies. Aware that Indonesia was planning to invade with support of the United States and Australia on 28 November 1975, we unilaterally declared our independence. 9 days later, on 7th December, we were invaded and subsequently annexed by Indonesia. When the Constitution of the Ocean, the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS, was signed in 1982, I was leading the resistance in the mountains of Timor. When UNCLOS came into force in 1996, I was in jail in Indonesia. Thanks to the resilience of our people and the institutions of the United Nations, in 1999 we voted for independence in a UN-supervised referendum. In May 2002, we became the 191st member state of the United Nations. Although my country is a small island state, it has a great story to tell. Before I talk about the Timor Sea conciliation, I want to say a few words about the reconciliation process between Timor-Leste and Indonesia. After the restoration of our independence, following 24 years of struggle and war, the Timorese people made reconciliation with Indonesia a priority. We realized that we could not entrench peace or build our state without reconciliation. We were fortunate that both Timor-Leste and Indonesia had leaders of great wisdom and foresight. Together, our countries began a process of dialogue. It was not easy at first, but both nations agreed to approach the process with tolerance, understanding, and goodwill. This allowed us to build a strong and friendly bilateral relationship. Today we have closer diplomatic trade and people-to-people ties with Indonesia than any other nation. The reconciliation process between our two countries is a global model of what can be achieved through dialogue and mutual respect. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, in just 20 years we have built a vibrant democracy, and although we are still fragile, we are making every effort to enter a phase of resilience. We are a country that believes in the rule of law and in the promise of a rules-based global architecture that leads to peace. Timor-Leste's story is one of hope. After our long resistance struggle, we finally succeeded in becoming an independent nation, but we did not feel truly complete and free because we did not have a permanent maritime boundaries with our two neighbors, Australia and Indonesia. This meant that we could not claim our seas and the resources that belonged to us under international law. We could not guarantee our own future. This changed recently, proving that international architecture can accomplish. After years of repeated attempts and failures, during which Australia refused to negotiate maritime boundaries, we turned to UNCLOS and its provision for compulsory conciliation. This was our last resort. Compulsory conciliation was a process designed for situations such as those we found ourselves in, where a neighboring country refuses to negotiate boundaries bilaterally and withdraws from the binding dispute resolution mechanism in UNCLOS. Compulsory reconciliation had never been attempted before. We had no guarantee that we would be successful, but we took a chance on the international system, which had served us well in the past. The UNCLOS compulsory conciliation between Timor-Leste and Australia was not an easy process. We had to overcome a history of tension and mistrust. As I mentioned earlier, in 1975, Australia joined with America to support Indonesia's invasion of Timor. It was the time of the Cold War, and the West feared the spread of communism throughout Southeast Asia. There was also oil in the Timor Sea that influenced the Australian policymakers. This became clear when Australia gave de jure recognition of the Indonesian occupation in 1979, in defiance of United Nations resolutions, in order to negotiate a maritime boundary with Indonesia in the hydrocarbon-rich Timor Sea between Australia and Timor-Leste. Australia's interest in oil and gas in the Timor Sea was the reason Australia withdrew from the binding dispute resolution processes under UNCLOS in 2002, just a week before the restoration of our independence. This prevented Timor-Leste, the poorest nation in Asia, taking Australia before an independent adjudicator to determine our maritime boundary according to UNCLOS and the customary international law of the sea. It was the revelation that Australia placed the electronic listening devices in our cabinet room while we were discussing our options to secure our maritime boundaries in 2004 that eventually led us to the UNCLOS compulsory conciliation process. Because while Australia had opted out of the binding dispute resolution avenues under UNCLOS as a signatory to the convention, Australia could not opt out of the UNCLOS compulsory conciliation process. Our decision to initiate a compulsory conciliation process was not taken lightly. It had never been done before. We were given confidence by the fact that a report from the Commission would go to the UN Secretary General, and that at the end of the process, if no agreement was reached, the parties to the conciliation would be required to negotiate in good faith on the basis of the report. Ladies and gentlemen, The early days of the conciliation were not easy. Australia immediately challenged the Commission's jurisdiction. After a very legalistic hearing in The Hague, the Commission decided unanimously in our favor. The first conciliation meeting between Australia and Timor-Leste were tense. A punishing schedule of meeting took us to locations around the world: The Hague, Washington, D.C., Singapore, Copenhagen, and Kuala Lumpur. The Commission was determined to remove obstacles to progress, establish a stable starting point for negotiations, and build trust between the parties. To do that, the Commission suggested a series of confidence-building measures, which included suspending litigation on foot between the parties, seeking commitments on respective mandates and a forward-looking approach, and an agreement on public communications. With the help of these confidence-building measures, both sides engaged in the process with goodwill and with the intention to achieve a settlement. Many discussions were held both during formal conciliation meetings and informally on the sidelines. The chair left no stone unturned, with his subtle democracy slowly bridging the gap between us. After many rounds of negotiations guided by the Conciliation Commission, a breakthrough was achieved on 30 August 2017. An agreement was reached with Australia on a maritime boundary that was consistent with international law, resulting in a median line boundary. In March 2018, our two countries signed the Maritime Boundary Treaty at the United Nations headquarters in the presence of Secretary General Antonio Guterres. It was a difficult process of unquestionable political and economic importance to our country. Fortunately, the substance of the law of the sea prevailed. We achieved a package deal, balancing the interests of both states through a process where the comparative power and size of our nations did not weigh unevenly on the scale of justice. The story of the compulsory conciliation is set out in a report produced by Timor-Leste Land and Maritime Boundary Office, New Frontiers, Timor-Leste's Historic Conciliation on Maritime Boundaries in the Timor Sea. We have copies available here. I would like you to note that my comments on Australia so far have been about our past relationship. I felt it was important to talk about it so you could properly understand the challenges we faced. I can now happily report that our relationship is on a new positive pathway marked by mutual respect. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, maritime boundary treaties provide important clarification of the rights and responsibilities of Timor-Leste and its neighbors. We are now able to fully realize the economic health benefit of the resources in our exclusive economic zone and establish a supply base and a refinery on the south coast for connection to the Great Sunrise Pipeline in the Timor Sea. A national petroleum industry will, among other things, provide jobs for our young people. We are also able to move forward on the development of our blue economy. early next year, we will release an action plan for the blue economy, setting out a strategic approach to promoting a sustainable economy linked to ocean and marine resources. The peaceful resolution of maritime dispute is one of the most pressing issues of this century, as an ungoverned spaces bring uncertainty to maritime peace and security and undermine the protection of our oceans. And yet, there are nearly 200 disputes over maritime boundaries outstanding around the world. There is clearly a pressing need for conversations like the one we are about to have, exploring lessons learned in the peaceful resolution of Timor-Leste's maritime boundary dispute with Australia. Thank you for your attention and interest in our story, and I look forward to answer your questions if I can.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Before I open the floor for question, I am going to ask the question because I'm sitting on the chair. I really wanted to touch on this issue of the blue economy, especially given the fact that climate change, we have seen record temperatures that are a result of climate change. What threat does climate change pose to Timor-Leste and the blue economy?
Well, I only can say that the impact of the climate change in Timor-Leste is that we cannot have, as before, the rain that we need for agriculture. Mm-hmm. But about the blue economy, of course, we have in all our coast, north coast, but we have a small island on the north. We have 4 or 5 Americans. Before they were working on the National Geographic, and after looking at our rich biodiversity, they are in charge of the Atoll Island, and what makes us very, very optimistic is that 3 months ago there, and they see, because we asked people not to destroy, not to touch, and the biodiversity is increasing. I have to say that many other places, from Thailand to Philippines, Indonesia, many places, even in Australia, the marine biodiversity was destroyed by tourism. Because what they think is money, and people come and destroy everything there. And the lesson that we took was, or will be, yes, for tourism, but the tourism is not for money. The tourism is to reveal our riches in biodiversity, because the ocean is our life. As an island, and we are a small population, but we have more than 30 ethnics. All came from outside, meaning that we belong to the ocean, and the ocean is our life. That is why we want to secure this, because it is something that in other parts of the world are.
So, Your Excellency, you have worked as the eminent person of the G7 Plus, a group of fragile states. In your view, honest view, do you think it is possible for developed countries to better support the development of fragile states in the global south without vested economic interest at play?
This is the real problem. This is the real problem. Yes. I went to Central African Republic, independent in 62. Very rich country with diamond, oil and gas, gold. But in 62, from 62, I was so impressed negatively because there is nothing. They were independent from France, and they speak French there. There are conflicts in terms of many groups fighting each other, not in the city but in the mountains. Just say that. I went there because G7 Plus, we say 7 because we started with 7 countries, plus because many others came and joined us. Now we are G20 minus. Including Democratic Republic of Congo. Fragile state means that the state is very fragile or doesn't exist. Of course, state is president, parliament, government, and justice. These 4 institutions, they are the basis of a state. And I can tell you a story. Guinea-Bissau with Angola, they got independence in 74, right after the revolution that I mentioned there. 74. We came into the war in 75. During 24 years, we fought. After that, with all the suffering, all the destruction, in 2002, we tried to build the state from the ashes. And we were all paying attention only to our situation. Very difficult, with no money, etc., etc. In 2014, or 2013, from Guinea-Bissau, I received a delegation. I was Prime Minister. I was the Excellency Prime Minister.
Your Excellency?
Yes. And we talked and they asked us for help. Help in what? Oh, because we are going to have elections. Oh, good, good. And I sent people to help, and I went there also. We were astonished. 74, 2014, 40 years. It was the first ever free and democratic elections in Guinea-Bissau. That is why we say fragile state. And more than 30 coup d'etats. It is what we say fragile state. No state, or the state exists, but the institutions don't function very well. This is our definition of fragile state. Like in, very recently, Democratic Republic of Congo also is a member, founding member, but after elections, this is the problem. The problem is that the international community, instead of going there, the problem of the United Nations is go to somewhere and start to teach. Do this, do this, do this, do this. By people that, if we see, from where? People, which country there is no democracy, no human rights, but teach us about democracy and human rights. The approach, the problem is not only the United Nations, the way they approach the people to solve this problem. And another one is the world leaders. The world leaders, instead of going, I can help you if you know. When we start to, I help you in this, but this is not. That is why I would like to remind here that we came here to Japan to commemorate the 50 years of cooperation and friendship between ASEAN and Japan, and one of the theme was heart-to-heart cooperation. Heart-to-heart.
Thank you very much.
Not I do this, but you have to.
No, thank you very much. I see quite a few hands. Now I'm going to open for the floor. You are number 1. You are number 2. Please note your number. You are number 3. Number 4 at the back. Professor Asegawa is number 5. Number 6.
Enough.
Number 7. Enough, I thought you were
please.
number 1. Number 7. Enough? 7th?
Enough.
Quick, and the Prime Minister is going to give a quick response. Number 1.
Yes or not?
Number 1.
Hi.
And please introduce yourself.
Yes. My name is Hisashi Saito. I represent a small educational NGO for sustainability to the UN. And it's a great honor to meet you, Excellencies and Excellency. And I admire your achievement in nation building and bilateral diplomacy. And how about the multilateral diplomacy concerning your blue economy? So in 2017, in COP23 in Bonn, there was like a Germany and the Fiji co-chaired conference. So do you feel any kind of difference of the flow of including small island developing nations? And if you have any comment on your future prospect on that issue. So thank you very much.
We are observer of Pacific Forum, small islands. I went there a few times. The problem is the same as the rector asked about G7 plus. The problem in the Central African Republic, if you talk with them, if you say French, they say, oh, no! I went there, we discussed it a little bit with various groups. 2 months later, they called me, they hand over the weapons, but because the country is so big, still groups. And we realized that the powers, they give weapons to a tribe, and they give also weapons to another tribe, and they fight there. The government, because the government doesn't exist, they cannot control, they have nothing, while they take. And what they are trying is to go there and to how to say, to call the groups. But so difficult, no? You understand? I repeated this, and I believe that last year they could understand my alert, because from the peacekeeping force from Portugal, almost 30 years of peacekeeping force there, without peace, nothing, only in the capital. This is what we say, the United Nations must change, not only their approach, not only United Nations, but to United Nations to change the world leaders. And last year, in Lisbon, from the peacekeeping force, Portuguese peacekeeping force, when they went back, the mafia of diamond and gold. Meaning that the groups that fight each other, it is provoked by. Now, talking about the island states, yes. Sometimes, now we see the Pacific, the presence of the superpowers there, whoa, security with big navies there, etc. What for? They need is help. What they need is help. Sometimes you condemn this, you criticize this country, you criticize the other. But if we don't give, if I don't give, I am a superpower. If you go there and you offer something, they say, I love you.
No, thanks,
That is
Prime
why
Minister.
the same. It's just to see that the international relations, the superpower, the decision makers, just see. I have to say, last week, for the ceasefire in Gaza. Veto. There was no ceasefire. But no, nothing to think about the kids, about the women suffering there. Please, at least do you have a sense of humanity?
Yeah,
That is why, because we are in the UN University, Asagawa, my friend, was in the...
Thank you, Prime Minister. We're going to go to number 2. Question number 2.
Oh, wow.
Good evening, Your Excellency.
Okay.
My name is Gabriella White from UN Women. I'm also here with the UN Women and the Chartered Institute of Journalists. So, as many of us are becoming aware, Timor-Leste is becoming an increasingly attractive new tourist destination, as you mentioned, tourism, welcoming an increasing number of international travellers keen to experience the coral reefs, beaches, the rugged mountains, and the rich cultural heritage your beautiful country has to offer. Some media reports suggest that in spite of the high crime rate in parts of Timor-Leste, that there is a growing sense of peace and stability on the island. Can you speak more on how peace and stability is being successfully established in terms of which measures are being put in place to protect women from gender-based crimes? The question applies to protecting both local women and women travelling to the island.
Prime Minister, please note that question. I will take 2 questions at a time. Can I get number 3 also, and then you will answer both questions?
Yeah, good evening. It is my great pleasure to meet you. My name is Dr. Katsura, Coimbatore Institute of Technology in India. And my simple question is, I think that the dispute need the firearms, but taking the firearms need money. So who is contribute to the money for the firearms for your neighbor? I don't know that. Thank you so much.
Okay, Prime Minister, 2 questions. The first one is on women and the protection thereof, and the second one is who is financing these small firearms that are the biggest killers of people today, isn't it? Because
Who is the?
Financing. Who is giving money for people to acquire these firearms?
Where?
Globally.
Globally?
Yeah.
Whoa.
But the first,
I think the question was who is financing the maritime boundary.
oh, okay. Oh, that was my question. It looks like the other question is. Oh, okay. Who is financing the? Yeah, Prime Minister. The first question is on how to protect the protection of women.
Madam, you talk about tourism destination. It is increasing. The data is wrong because not too many tourists they are going there. Second, yes, peace and stability. When we talk about peace and stability, we talk about society. What I can see is that many NGOs, they exist there because of subsidies, maybe from outside, doing nothing. Doing nothing in terms that they don't, if they defend some rights, They have to go towards and talk with the people to now. They only put, we defend women's rights, only. Only in the city and in the mountain, nothing. That is why it belongs to the society. Of course, I have to say that the current society in Timor-Leste is very difficult to control because of
This one.
because of this.
Not specifically this one, by the way.
Not this one. No. Very difficult. And we follow the wall in Europe also from kids. From kids. They don't study, they are all time with this. That is why it is very difficult. We can have principles, values, but please, if you are from UN organization, UN Women, please tell them there in Timor to go around, to have conferences, to have discussions. If not, it is only when there is problem they are there. If not, because yes, so many NGOs there.
So, Prime Minister, on the second question.
Wait. So many NGOs there about women, about this, about that, about the children. But I can say that they don't function because during difficult times, I helped madres, como é que é? Huh? Nuns in specific, how to say, locations to protect, to receive the victims. They are not. The NGOs doesn't exist. They don't exist. They only talk a little bit. We have to change this. They have to be more active in going and talk in universities, in everywhere, in the schools, and if not, the result will be null. And
On the second one, then I did not get it.
I think the question was, how do you finance your maritime boundaries? The legal process.
It was both countries. In that case, it was Australia and Timor-Leste. And what I know is that some countries trying to adopt this, but they don't have money. This is, if UN can help in this case of countries that don't have money to... I told this story, it is more to trust in the international law, and if we face some difficulties, we can make all the efforts, and in that case, Australia big, very rich, we are small, underdeveloped, but the international law put in the same weight in the balance of the justice. It was just to tell the audience that we didn't say that, oh, we won, no. It was just to say that, like before, I went to the maritime boundary, it was 24 years of a struggle. But what oriented us is the international law. International law.
Thank you, Prime Minister. So I'm going to take two last questions. It's number 4, and Professor Hasegawa, you know the Prime Minister quite well, and you have worked together in East Timor, and you're going to have an opportunity to ask the Prime Minister. So I'm going to do number 4 and number 6. Thank you very much. No, Professor Hasegawa was involved in the peace process in East Timor, and number 4 and number 6.
Can I go ahead?
Yeah.
Hello, sir. My name is Prasanna. I'm from India. I work here in Japan. Thank you for the opportunity. So, what's your plan for making Timor-Leste into a knowledge economy? You spoke about blue economy, but how about knowledge economy? By promoting more
knowledge economy.
More
Knowledge. Yeah, economy.
Jobs in IT or research, etc. Because you have a very big market nearby, Australia, and countries like Fiji or Indonesia have been very strong, aggressively promoting their own people towards Australia and other countries. I thought you have a similar population size of Fiji, if I'm not wrong. Yours is 1.1 million and theirs is close to 1 million. So I wanted to know what is your plan to give a better alternative in terms of jobs in IT, research, etc. for your youth.
Okay, and then number 6. Yes.
My name is Rezolve. I come from the private sector. We do business in ASEAN, Mercosur, and Portugal. My question is about the relationship with the países lusófonos, the Portuguese-speaking countries. So the relationship is in the same line. They help you or they try to teach you how to do things.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm going to take number 7 because these are relatively short questions. Yeah. Number 7.
Thanks, Prime Minister. My name is Kim Chang-nam. I'm journalist. East Timor's independence means many. For the prosperity of your country and your people, what should Northeast Asian country have? Yeah.
Okay. What should Far Eastern countries like Japan, South Korea, and China, I suppose, how can they help Timor-Leste? So the first question is on education, knowledge economy. You're supposed to be my thinking cap.
Knowledge economy, no?
Yeah.
Yes, we are a new country, adult already, 21 years, but still a very new in all aspects of the life. Of course, the education is the big challenge for us, not only now, but to the future also. The problem is how can we educate our young people? If it means that do we have enough teachers with knowledge to provide this teaching to our youth? Yes, very difficult, very challenging question and a very challenging issue for my government. We are a new government. We are in the first month, and this is the problem. That is why we are sending, even by JICA, here to Japan, with the help of JICA. We are sending to other countries to study. The problem is that if we send one or two to study, will be not enough. That is why we are trying to review this and to send more people in different areas, and they can go back and teach in all the areas that we need.
And then the second one is the Portuguese-speaking countries.
Yeah, Portuguese-speaking countries, we have friends. It is a little bit different of ASEAN. ASEAN, the variety of culture, etc., but they are living together. CPLP, yes, one live in Europe, another one live in America, few in Africa, but very separated. We very far away. What links us is good friendship, fraternity. We would like to also to open our doors for investment, etc., but the CPLP is not acting as a donator, not acting as the other donors that go there, and if you need money, you have to, like this. The relationship is more friendship, fraternity, and in whatever we can help each other. With Portugal, we send students there, to Brazil also, students. But I believe that slowly we can get more relationship in terms of economic, etc.
And then the last one was how can countries such as Japan, Korea, and China help on your issues?
Well, it means that you consider me, Timor-Leste, as a member of ASEAN. We are not yet. Yes, if you know, we know ASEAN also. We know the difference between the countries. Singapore and Malaysia and Thailand and others. The Vietnamese going, but others, we know. We are trying to be in ASEAN more in terms of in international arena. If we are member of ASEAN, our voice can be heard, because if not, we are very isolated. That means that so far, from 1999 till now, Japan was a big friend, Korea, China, they helped. They helped very, very much in many, many, many areas. If you balance the capability of China, Japan, and Korea with the 10 countries in ASEAN, you can see that if we get some help from ASEAN countries, it is very, very minimal.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. I think this was an excellent engagement, Prime Minister. If you could just use one word of advice, one word which will motivate this excellent audience here to go out there and make a difference in all walks of life, what would that one word be? Maybe two?
One by one will be very difficult. Two one by one, very difficult. But because we are here in the UN, I would say that change your approach to people.
Thank you
Be
very much.
more humanitarian than
Change your approach to people. Thank you very much. Let's give His Excellency a round of applause. So I am requested that you remain seated as we walk His Excellency out. Thank you.
please be seated.